Kia ora koutou. Welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to run through the Surge canvas. We're going to go through what is the Surge canvas, what problem it solves, and we're going to go through two scenarios. The first scenario will be a program backlog and how you could use this to prioritize your projects and monitor the flow through. And the second one we'll look at it at an organizational level, i.e. you can use it at a strategic initiatives point of view, or you could use it as a startup. Cool, well let's crack into it. So the Surge Canvas was named by Cohort 1 of the Business Agility Foundations course. In this course, I asked all the members to name the IP of Surge, and they quite liked this, though they gave it a less than desirable name, the Surge Canvas. I think they did this because I said to them that it's very similar to the business canvas or the lean canvas, as it's designed to be used continuously. It's not designed to be done once and then just left. It's a work in progress. It's a living document. So it's called the Surge Canvas. And until someone comes up with a better name, this is the name we have for it. As you can see, yes, you can print this out. It's in your learning material, so feel free to print it out. The quality I can print up to A0 and it's totally fine. You can also just draw this on a big whiteboard. Most of the time I'm seeing this in organizations, I'm seeing the two parts separate. You can probably see now the top part is all the design aspects. Why do we exist? Who do we serve? Where do we play? What problem we're solving? And then the bottom part is a Kaizen board. How are we going to solve the problem, in what way, and when? You can split these up, but I do recommend you keep them together. Why? Because every time you're looking at your projects or your program backlog, you will be able to see who the customer is you're trying to serve and why do you even exist as an organization. It can come in quite handy. So starting at the top left, you'll see the big sun, the big why mission. Why does your company exist? And you'll see I've put there to what. In other words, you could use the Simon Sinek's approach to give a good why statement. You could also have your own mission statement up there. It's just to remind your teams why they're actually here. What is their intrinsic motivation to being here? You could put the name, could be the name of the organization, it could be the name of the business unit, your tribe, your art. It could be your team name. I've used this at team level. It's a little bit overkill for team level, but you can use it. Then you've got who. Now, in the who, if I just zoom in for you, in the who, you'll see that there is a persona. In the persona, you can have the picture of your customer and their name up the top here. And then what are they thinking? What are they saying? And what are they doing? Now you get all this information from your persona in design thinking. You can get it from your empathy maps. And this is a constant reminder when you're going through your projects to what is the customer really thinking, saying, and doing. Okay? When we look at the where, this is a very high-level customer journey map. You don't have to go into detail on this. You could go into detail in another area. But in what we're looking for to achieve here is a before, during, and after the event. So I'm assuming that you've gone through and you've identified the right customer and you've mapped out their journey. You'll probably see there are multiple journeys. And the Surge Canvas is used for one journey and one problem. You could have multiple Surge Canvases depending on your needs. Inside the where area, you can go into more detail, but as I said, I would recommend you stick with before, during the problem, and then after. This allows you really to focus on what is the problem you're solving. Once you understand that problem, you can actually start putting your problem statement here. And I recommend you literally just put post-it notes. It makes it a lot easier to focus on on the problem statement from a Post-it note point of view. And this is why I say just print it off, shove it on a wall space, and then keep editing it as you find out more information about your customers, or when you're standing up a new program of work, or when you're starting a new product development cycle. When we look at the clouds here, these are rarely used, but I've left them there for values. If you have team values or tribe values that make sense to your team or tribe, then put them there. Always constant reminder. So from a high-level overview, we have another Post-it note called experience. And these could be things that you think the customer wants in their experience. It's constant reminders. So when you go to ideation phase, when you start thinking of solutions or how you're going to fix the problem or the features in your project, you want to constantly look back to the experience your customer wants to have. All of this information, why, the values, the who, the customer journey, the problem, the experience, they allow you to really define a SMART objective. Now, when we go through the difference between a goal and an objective really is a SMART goal. So your goal could be to lower child poverty, but your objective will be something like, we are going to decrease child poverty by 17% in the next 6 months, whichever makes sense for your company. But you want one objective per canvas. And this is where the OKR model comes in really handy. If you're following the OKR model, especially from what Google promotes as their OKR model, so lofty objectives that are quite hard to reach, as opposed to very easy to achieve objectives in a 90-day period. This is for those lofty objectives. The whole top end, as you can see now, is all your service design. It's all your design thinking area. You now know why you exist, who you serve, where you play, and what your problem is. And it's a very specific problem that you've defined in an objective. Now, I have seen people use small little Post-it notes around here with KPIs. Totally fine. I thought it was a pretty cool idea, actually. So objective can be written down, and the way you're measuring it can go on the side. And this, again, is just constant reminder of what it is you're looking to achieve. It's not about providing solutions. It's about providing what the problem is you're looking to solve. Once you've done that, and this could be done in a studio design session for 2-3 days. This could be done over many, many weeks, getting your business case up and running. You move into ideation phase. Now, as we went through in the previous lesson, how we prioritize those ideas can be done in many ways. I prefer objective measuring against customer value. It makes it a lot easier, and there's no debates on what is more valuable for an organization. So I recommend you go back to the previous lesson and just double check how your organization could prioritize strategic initiatives or projects based on objective value to the customer mostly. You could focus on the employee value. Employee value will always lead to customer value, so that's fine. But sometimes it's a lot easier to focus directly on customer value. So you may have multiple outcomes that you want to achieve. And you're going to prioritize them because you can only do one thing or two things at once. And we're assuming here that you're not going to say that everything's urgent. Because if everything's urgent, nothing's urgent. You're going to prioritize them. You're going to prioritize the hows. And hopefully you're going to prioritize them without a whole bunch of dependencies, because that just makes it more complicated. You want specific outcomes that you think can help you achieve your objective. That's the key. Every outcome could be a project. And that's totally reasonable. There's a growing thought process to do away with projects. As you can see from here, you could have your strategic direction, your OKR models, and you could have 3 or 4 objectives. You may grab one of those and ideate. You may come up with 50 different outcomes that could help you achieve your objective. These could be 50 projects, and this is okay. 50 projects go along the ideation how phase, and they're prioritized into a single backlog. We move into the lean canvas phase, where we're basically going to look at the feasibility, desirability, and viability. As you can see at the top here, there is a work in progress limit. This is dependent on your organization and what level you're using this at. If this was used at a program level, I'd recommend 1. You're looking at 1 lean canvas at any one time, because you're only looking at the highest priority item. If you're looking at this from a strategic point of view at an organizational level, you may have 6 or 7 purely based on how many departments can work on a lean canvas at any one time. This depends on your structure of your organization. I'm aware that your structures may not be aligned to customers, and then that is totally fine. You need to work within the parameters of your structure. Restructuring is a big ordeal, and if that's 6 or 7, that's totally fine. If it's 1, it's preferable. If it is feasible, desirable, and viable, then you're going to move into validation phase. This is a hypothesis experiment testing phase, or the latter end of design thinking, or you could use lean startup. It doesn't matter what tools you use. The idea here is to go, yep, it's feasible, desirable, and viable. I'm going to go create a little test case, a little pilot. So for a large project that could take 6 to 9 months, you may do a 2-week sprint to understand if this project will actually get the benefits that you think will happen. So it's all about validating your hypothesis here. Preferably, you'll go from a research point of view and you'll create some hypothesis and you'll go out and test with customers, and the customers will basically tell you that this was a bad or a great idea. Things could stay in that phase for a long time until you've proven that you can get your benefits from this project or this initiative. You should stay in this phase. Once you understand that this is a feasible, desirable, and viable, and you can get these benefits, that is exactly what you think it is, that's when you move into development phase. And this is where, from the surge structure point of view, things come in quite handy if you split design and delivery up. Development have one backlog that they're constantly turning through and figuring out how to develop the solution. And then the design people are making sure that the highest priority items are actually being able to be pulled by the development people. And this is not development in terms of technology. This is developing value. So let's not get confused with agile ways of working. This is development of value. So it must be ready for the development of value to start. There should be some sort of definition of ready for the development teams. They will probably have different definitions of ready. But the main thing is it's been validated. It's okay for development. It's now in their backlog to pull at their leisure. You will have a work in progress limit for that development section as well. And that is totally dependent on your structure, your throughput, and the timings that you require from your maintenance and change validation. Again, look back on the previous episodes, the previous lessons, to have a look at how you can prioritize teamwork as well as organizational work. We don't throw away anything. At any point, we could have dead. We got to learn some lessons. So you may find that you go into lean canvas and it's not feasible. Put it in the dead column. Learn from it, inspect and adapt. You may get all the way to the development phase and you completely missed something. It's now dead. It can be pulled back into outcomes and the lessons learned will go through again. If it's done, it becomes maintenance. Once a feature, a change feature, is complete, it's now a maintenance feature. Someone's still going to maintain these features. So who's maintaining it? And this is how you create traceability. Once it's in the done column, it's now operations. This could be the same teams if you have a DevOps model, or it could be completely separate teams. And this helps you your change management handover. So from a high level point of view, the Surge Canvas is a work in progress document that allows you to see why you're doing things, who you're serving, where you're playing, what problem you're solving, and how you could possibly solve it. How you shouldn't use this is just to create a whole bunch of features that have to all be done. The object is once the objective is met, this search canvas is finished. So if you have an easy objective to be met, you won't need to use this. If your objective needs these 3 outcomes, then this becomes, you might as well have a project backlog, or you might as well have a Gantt chart. This is designed for when you don't know how to solve a problem. When you're given an objective, or you help create an objective around a customer value that you don't understand what is definitely needing to be done. Okay? It is complex. If it was complicated, you don't need a search canvas. You can just have a Gantt chart. If it's complex, you need to be able to pivot or persevere based on completely new variables that are unknown to you when you create this. Hence, it's a living document. Cool. So this is the search canvas. As I say, I've seen this used in 2 different ways. So the first way, from a program point of view, you create the program why statement. Why is the program working? It normally is linked to some sort of strategy piece of work. You understand who the customer is, and I don't mean the internal stakeholder or your external B2B partners. It has to be the customer. So if your program is delivering pieces of work to an internal stakeholder who's then helping that customer, you need to bring the internal stakeholder in on the conversation, find out who the real customer is, and then work out the customer roadmap. Okay, so this is not a great tool to use if you've already decided the solution. This is a great tool to use if you are unsure on the solution and you wish to change it based on new customer feedback. So the program could come along and say, this is the program outcomes we're looking to achieve. Excellent. This is the problem we're solving. Cool. Here's the objective 1. And there could be 3 or 4 objectives in a program. If you're not using the Google OKR model and you're just using objectives, SMART goals, and they're a little bit more low level, you could have 3 or 4 of these depending on all your projects. And then you get everyone together and you ideate to find solutions for that objective. Again, you may have something in mind, and that's totally fine. Then the outcomes become features. The features could have lean canvases. A feature would in this case, would probably be about 90 days, roughly, of work, because that way you could do 90-day planning for the entirety of this. So this could be your yearly plan for a program of work, and your outcomes could be quarterly based, and your lean canvases can be worked on, validated, and developed every quarter. All right, so that's the kind of level we're talking about here. The features could be about a quarter's worth of work, and then done and lessons learned. So that's how you use it at a program level. And it's more commonly used in a program level than an organizational level, mostly because this is a fairly new system. We created this based on the 7 circumstances of strategy that Surge created. And then we interlink this with business agility to ensure that it can allow you to adapt and be flexible in your approach to respond to customer value changes. From a startup point of view, or a product startup point of view, this is where this comes into its own. I use this with a lot of startups and they get a lot of good results as opposed to using the business canvas, which, great, it has very similar information, but it stops. For me personally, the business canvas stops, and then you end up using lean canvases. I wanted to create something that puts things all together on one page. So the business canvas is really up the top there, missing a few things like, who your partners are and other items, cost financials, that sort of thing. But they're inside your lean canvas. So do you see how I'm saying this? You would then end up having the lean canvas would be your business case to trial things with customers. So from a startup point of view, it works really well. From a product startup point of view, in an already made organization, you would use the top layer to basically create what you think could be the perfect new product. And you're going to validate that the whole way through. And that's what's really important about this search canvas. Then, when you've come up with this fantastic idea, it's been validated against customers, you can put it in the outcomes, ideate with all the people that would help develop this. You're talking technology, operations, marketing, strategy, the customer themselves, the users, bring them all into ideation, have a story mapping session, come up with a top one, lean canvas it, feasibility, desirability, viability. Yep, this is perfect, great. Go into validation, check with real customers, 10, 100, 1,000. Go with however many makes sense for you. When it's validated and you know it's correct, then go into development phase. And this will stop you wasting a whole bunch of time. A whole bunch of waste in human resources. You don't want to get to a point when people are twiddling their thumbs because they're bored. You want to get to a point when you can just get the work ready, create one backlog for development teams, and they can just pull the work, the most valuable work. And you've proven that this is the most valuable work for them to develop. One also benefit around product development is that you will understand exactly which skills are required before you create those programs. So again, this is a much better way of creating your business cases than just creating them based on someone's thoughts. You're going to validate against the customer, and you're going to prioritize the correct features first. Cool. Anyway, this is a quick intro to the Surge Canvas. As I say, it can be used in multiple ways, but the two main ways we're seeing it is at that program level and our organizational level. Thank you very much.